The anime begins with Banaza, who is a short and ugly-looking ordinary merchant from the royal capital Paluma. In his world, his righteousness makes the other humans around him worry for his mental health, as they do not understand why a man who is superior to all demi-humans would go to such a length to help them. Demi-humans who are slaves to all humans aren't allowed to use any currency in this world, but Banaza still gives his demi-human worker a big pouch of money for completing the given job successfully. The demi-human, of course, doesn't take the money, as he knows he will only get into trouble if the royal guards find out that he has taken money from humans. Still, Banaza insists on paying him and also brings his colleague Quinn to convince him to take the money. Unlike others, Quinn knows how kind-hearted and generous Banaza is, so she tells the demi-human team to go have a nice dinner with the money that Banaza offers them. They thank Banaza for giving them such a treat, but the other merchants who have been keeping a close eye on Banaza call him a hypocrite for pretending to help the slaves who are technically forced to work against their will. Banaza understands how the other merchants in the town feel about him, but he doesn't let it hurt his feelings and defends his actions, stating that he just wants all of the species to get along with each other. Suddenly, a miraculous event makes Banaza glow shiny golden in color and teleports him away from where he was, making his subordinate Quinn worry as to where he vanished off to out of nowhere. It is revealed that Banaza has just gotten summoned from his world to another world to become that world's 198th hero candidate. As he makes his entry into this world, he finds himself surrounded by dozens of mages who welcome him to the magical kingdom of Clyrode. Upon learning that he was selected to be this world's hero, Banaza becomes confused, as he is just a merchant who is clearly not worthy to become one. The head mage assures Banaza that he is a hero who will have to assist them in their prolonged war against the Dark Lord's army. Before assigning Banaza to one of the hero's posts, the head mage asks one of his maids to bring the assessment crystal ball to learn about the abilities that Banaza possesses. Banaza reluctantly places both of his hands on the crystal ball, making it illuminate in white. Apparently, the hero candidates who are summoned in this world are typically given divine blessings by the gods that help them stand out and become one of the strongest of the generation. However, Banaza reveals, who have given no such divine blessings, which terrifies even the maid who brought the crystal ball, as there has never been such an incident where a hero candidate is seen to have such ordinary status. Hearing the news, all of the mages who were responsible for summoning Banaza here are also let down, as the other mage team, who are just a few feet away, has been successful in summoning a person who possesses powers worthy of becoming the world's strongest hero. The hero with blonde hair who just got summoned gets full of himself because of his great stats and belittles Banaza for being an unlucky loser. Anyway, because of the legendary hero, Banaza gets completely ignored by everyone, making him wonder if anyone will send him back to his home world or not, since he is no longer worthy to be a hero. The king of the magical kingdom thanks the blonde hero for coming to this world and immediately gives him the title of knight, which is the highest title you can get. In the meantime, Banaza sulks on the balcony of the royal castle, being totally disappointed to see that nobody is treating him well just because he is ordinary. Since he has nothing else to do now, he looks around to check if he is actually in a different world from his home world and sees similarities that make him question where he is. Shortly after, the royal guards of the kingdom throw Banaza out of the castle and send him away to the far side of the kingdom, granting him permission to live in the dangerous forest as he pleases. Banaza, of course, wanted to return to his home world, but since the portal that was used to summon him has closed down and cannot be used to send him back, he accepts his fate and happily heads towards his next destination. On his way, he tries to make small talk with the lizard man carriage driver, but the lizard man refused to speak to him, as he has been commanded specifically not to tell him anything about this world. Seeing the lizard man being so obedient to the kingdom, Banaza assumes that he is a slave and tells the lizard man that the world he has come from is a very horrible place where humans have made all of the other species their slaves. The lizard man cracks up hearing about such a vile world and explains that unlike Banaza's world, there is no discrimination in the world between demi-humans and humans. Now that the lizard man has opened up a little, Banaza asks him again about the forest they are heading to, since he knows nothing of it, but the lizard man still refuses to speak to him and he closes the window on him. So for the rest of his traveling days, Banaza just eats, drinks, and sleeps, and after 20 lonely and long days, he reaches his destination, the Delavisa forest. Before leaving, the lizard man gives Banaza a special other dimensional pouch full of money and food that was given to him by the king, and whispers to him, giving him the horrifying news that the Dark Lord, who is the one the kingdom is at war against, lives somewhere inside the Delavisa forest. Banaza thanks the lizard man for the heads up, but he doesn't run away as he doesn't know where he should go. Instead, he redirects his focus to see what items the pouch has and extracts everything from his inventory by simply placing his hands on top of the pouch. The system menu shows that Banaza has received basic clothes, a pouch that contains endless water, a good amount of food, armor, basic farming tools, loads of gold coins, and a set of house construction magic. Banaza takes out the armor, which is just a cheap sword, and immediately tests its sharpness on the slime nearby. After killing only 3 slimes, the sword gets completely destroyed, leading Banaza to become disappointed and feel scammed. The system menu pops up again, notifying Banaza that his rank has leveled up to level 2, which has caused all of his abilities to increase to infinity. However, Banaza doesn't understand what the infinity sign means, so he turns on the voice guidance of the system, who informs him that he has unlocked tons and tons of magical spells due to the level up. The system also lets him know that it has detected negative magical spells like location tracking, monster luring, and forced recovery on the pouch that the lizard man gave him earlier, making him realize that the king never wanted him to survive in the forest. Thankfully, the system removes all of the negative spells that were applied to the pouch, so Banaza no longer worries about it. He forgets to ask the system about the infinity symbol that he is unfamiliar with and heads inside the forest looking for a safe place to stay. But before entering, the system warns him again, telling him that the entire forest is highly contaminated with malicium, which is a malicious gaseous substance released by the demons. So Banaza jokingly asks the system to purify the forest for him, and it does it accordingly, making him realize how incredibly overpowered his system menu is. The system pops up again, notifying Banaza that his overall level has increased yet again, and this time to the infinity rank, as he has taken out all of the living demons in the forest indirectly by purifying it. On the other side, back at the royal castle, the first princess finds it cruel that the hero candidate Banaza was treated so harshly just because he wasn't blessed with any superpowers. However, the king states that it is only fair that a piece of trash like Banaza should be sent to die, as he is nothing but good for nothing for their kingdom. The court mage visits the king, telling him that he has found evidence that the most powerful holy magic in their world, named purification, was just used in the forest where Banaza was sent, making the king realize that something is definitely out of place. Speaking of which, Banaza's level increases from only level 2 to an outstanding level of 367. He wonders why he leveled up so quickly and assumes that everyone else also levels up just like him, since he still considers himself to be ordinary. So he turns off the level up notifications and asks the system how much magical power he has left after purifying the forest. The system informs him that his magical power has already been replenished, which makes him think that his power only got restored so quickly because there wasn't much magic power to begin with to be increased. Still considering himself to be a weakling, Banaza takes a peek at the spells he has unlocked and out of sheer curiosity changes his appearance so that no one in this world recognizes him as the failed hero candidate. Now that he can no longer be recognized, Banaza decides to return to the royal capital and uses his teleportation magic to head back there, although anyone else in existence would understand at this point that they have been blessed with "I am overpowered now in this world, not this blockhead." This blockhead thinks that everyone in this world knows how to use these powerful spells. Anyway, he heads into the town looking to join a merchant guild to make some money since he was originally a merchant in his previous world. However, the system advises him to head to the Adventurers Guild instead, so he heads there and registers himself as Fleo, his new name and his new appearance. After completing the registration, Banaza, who is now Fleo, gets his E-ranked adventure badge and heads off immediately, looking to take some adventure quests. At that time, a little girl at the guild begs all the adventurers to escort her to the forest where the demon army resides, so Fleo agrees to take her there, revealing in front of everyone that he has the ability to use teleportation magic. Hearing this revelation, all of the adventurers are shocked to their chorus as they cannot believe that an E-ranked like him can use such a high-level spell that only a few sorcerers can use. A woman named Balarasa, a royal knight, gets too triggered by hearing Fleo's claims and tells him immediately to move away from the little girl, as she assumes that he is an imposter who is trying to take advantage of the little girl by lying to her. As all of the women inside the guild begin suspecting Fleo of being a human trafficker, he demonstrates to all of them that he can indeed use teleport magic and takes 5 of the girls, including the little girl, to the Delavisa forest in the blink of an eye. A young mage who tagged along with him still gets suspicious of him and calls him a great sorcerer of the highest order who is hiding his abilities. The royal knight Balarasa also formally apologizes to him for acting so rudely without considering that he could have been telling the truth. Following her, all of the girls also apologize to him and promise to no longer be suspicious of him. The little girl notices that the forest is no longer surrounded by militium, to which Fleo tries to explain that he was the one who used the purification spell to clean up the entire forest. But the system stops him from revealing that information and tells him that the little girl in front of him is a demon who will definitely become hostile towards him if he gives her that information. The other girls who came with Fleo also realize that the little girl with them is a demon who has been hiding her true appearance, so they prepare themselves to kill her, as the little innocent reveals its true terrifying form and threatens to crush everyone to a pulp. All of the girls lose their fighting spirit instantly, but not our protagonist, as he is completely protected with his infinite plot armor, so he steps up to protect the others and teleports the girls away first before dealing with the demon. Refusing to die at the hands of the demon, he decides to go all out on the demon and summons all of his spells at once to use them on the demon, not knowing that his spells are completely overpowered. The story continues. We see Fleo not wanting to be killed by the wolf demon Fenris. He summons all of his available magic spells, being completely unaware of how devastating the results would be, as he still considers himself to be weak. Fenris rushes towards him to prevent him from activating the spell, but it doesn't work as Fleo dashes away from him, using another one of his insane magic spells. Fenris follows up with a tail whip, but once again it gets blocked by the self-unaware prodigy mage, who uses the spell called Magic Wall to stop the wolf demon from coming any further towards him. Fleo uses the whirlwind spell next to it, causing it to get trapped mid-air. However, Fenris, who reveals to also know some magic spells, uses the short teleportation spell to teleport behind Fleo and attacks him once again. But Fleo ensures that the demon doesn't manage to move any further towards him and uses a gravitational spell on it to make it fall flat on the ground, realizing that this is the perfect opportunity to defeat her. Fleo wonders what magic spell he should use next. The system, being the most helpful thing ever, suggests Fleo use the subjugation spell on the wolf demon, explain that the spell will allow Fleo to have total control over Fenris's thoughts and actions. However, Fleo, who has seen how slavery works in his past life, decides not to use that spell on the wolf demon, so he asks the system to come up with some other suggestions. The wolf demon, in the meantime, tries to activate her own magic spells, totally disrespecting the overpowered system that is in the middle of talking with the main character. So system takes the liberty herself to cancel the spell of the wolf demon and continues her conversation with Fleo, telling him once again that he should use the subjugation spell. But Fleo refuses, once again giving up the opportunity to add a demon girl to his harem, and once again asks the system to come up with something else, but the system persists in using that spell over and over. Therefore, being left with no other choice, Fleo waits out until Fenris gets out of magical energy, making it easy for him to win without losing any blood. On the other hand, Fenris, who has given up completely, also gives up on her life, telling Fleo to just eliminate her, stating that a warrior like her who cannot fight has no right to continue living. However, Fleo expresses his wish to be a pacifist, claiming that he has never liked fighting with others. He even turns off his gravitational spell to prove to Fenris that he doesn't have the will to fight her over nothing. But it should be mentioned that he was the one who completely eradicated Fenris's species when the system cleansed the demon forest. So Fenris does have the right to fight him, but since she doesn't know that, she decides to listen to what this unaware hypocrite has to say. Fleo states that he doesn't differentiate between humans and demons and thinks of all races equally. His statement shocks Fenris, who calls him an idiot for thinking in such a naive way, telling him that his ideology will lead him to his own doom, but his naivety is exactly the reason why she decides to befriend him and turns back to her human form. Fleo asks Fenris to promise him that she won't be fighting anyone ever, but before she can give him an answer, she is rendered unconscious because she has no magical energy left in her. But the system assures Fleo that Fenris isn't in any type of danger, so he gets relieved and continues looking after her till the evening. In the meantime, he goes through the spells he possesses and finally realizes that he is a completely overpowered magician, which makes him question why he was given the liberty to use such great spells. Fenris wakes up finding herself inside the tent, and as she sees that Fleo is just outside waiting for her, she goes out to meet him as she realizes that he must have used healing magic on her when she was asleep. She starts to respect him and follows up on their previous conversation, promising Fleo that she won't be attacking any humans anymore. She also acknowledges Fleo as her master because why the heck not? Fleo, being the heavenly gentleman, clearly states that he is not into master-slave relationships, but Fenris insists on making him her master and threatens to take her own life if he doesn't agree to her terms. So, Fleo lets her do as she pleases and allows her to join his unofficial harem. He quite transparently reveals to Fenris that he is from another world and even shows her his original form, who was summoned as a failed hero in this world. His secret only causes Fenris to respect him even more, who now vows to be beside him for eternity. On the other side, the king summons the hero of their kingdom, asking for an explanation as to how the army that he provided him to fight against the Dark Army was completely defeated. The hero, instead of admitting his fault, blames the king for providing him with weaklings who apparently were all gone for good when they were in the presence of the demonic beasts. The king, who reveals to know that the hero was using the knights as human shields because of being a coward, doesn't like the fact that the hero blamed everything on the knights, calling them a bunch of weaklings. Realizing that this blonde idiot is not worthy of being called a hero, he wonders what to do with this loser. Moving on to Fleo's perspective, he returns to the city with Fenris in order to join the Adventurers Guild, as he would need money to eat and have a place to stay. They walk around in the local market where the general public assumes that both Fleo and Fenris are couples, seeing them walk together. Fenris takes this opportunity to propose to Fleo and offers to become his wife, who will serve him her whole life. Before he can give her his answer, she grabs his hand, decides to be his wife, and walks inside the Adventurous Guild together. Upon reaching an agreement and deciding to take her to the world, Fenris is more than excited to go with him. They decide that they will be married, and she is overjoyed to be married to the only person who has ever defeated her. They take their new union to the guild, and she is excited to relate better with humans and understand how humans do their things. By the time she gets to the registration part of the guild, she recalls that in their culture, to commemorate a new union between couples, the couples are meant to hunt together and also eat a bone in their hunting. She tells him she would like to share a bone with him, and no matter how excited she is, he really can't put his head around everything she is saying and how she sounds. The attendant asks her for her name, and as she is about to mention her demon name, he quickly stops her so she won't reveal her identity. He tells the attendant that her name is Reese, and she takes over the name. Before they complete their registration, they hear an instruction that there is a herd of psycho bear in the forest. This herd of psycho bears has completely defeated Hero and all his soldiers, and they need adventurers who will defeat the psycho bears. There is no level of adventurers that can't take the mission, and as they all know, which risky mission has some advantage as regards the price, Fleo thinks about the deal and he knows he needs the money. However, he doesn't think he has enough experience to deal with a psycho bear. Reese, on the other hand, doesn't want to believe he can't win. He reminds her that even the hero and his crew couldn't win, and she tells him he defeated her and she can defeat the psycho bearers, so if she takes the mission alone, she will still succeed. Reluctantly, he decides to take the mission and teleport to the forest by the time they get there. Just as the guild master has earlier informed them, they find a hut where they can stay until they finish their mission. Reese barely cares about the mission, but the opportunity to spend more time with him. Just as they are about to enter the building, they hear a loud noise by the other side of the forest. They go to the other side and find out it is the same adventurers that they were with some minutes ago. The team of knights headed by Balarasa are against some psycho bears. They try their best to win the fights, but the bears are bigger and stronger than they are. Before they get defeated, Fleo jumps in and kills one of the bears. The other bear tries to attack the others, but Reese jumps down and defeats it. Within a few minutes, they have completely defeated all the bears. Balarasa is shocked that it is the same person who had saved her and her team some minutes ago that had saved them again. She bows and appreciates Fleo, asking him how he had survived the demon earlier. She complains that she felt bad about how they had left him with the demon, but they had no other choice and they are so lucky that he came through for them again. The more they talk about the demon, the more enraged Reese is. At that point, Fleo feels the need to introduce Reese and he tells them she is her companion. Suddenly a psycho bear jumps at Reese from behind. Fleo calls her attention to it so she can defeat it, but when she turns and the bear sees the red light beaming from her eyes, it realizes that it isn't a great fit for her and she will destroy. The bear quickly collapses in fear and even Reese wonders what she has done. Fleo goes nearer and tries to find out what has happened. He asks the bear if he is scared of Reese and if he acknowledges that Reese is stronger. The bear admits and submits itself to their governance. Reese feels that is very cute and she wonders if it is possible they take it as a pet. As a result, Fleo uses his power to seal the bear's strength and also shifts its shape into a smaller pet. They take the pet and Balarasa, feeling like they are so powerful, begs to have a conversation with Fleo. They take her to the house, and in the house she asks if Fleo can train them. They confess that they are new knights, and following the incident with the hero has refused to fight the Dark Lord. If he doesn't have knights that are strong enough to defeat Psycho Bears, he thinks about their offer, but knows he isn't strong enough to train them. Before he can talk, Reese gets angry at their requests, and she starts submitting fire. He calms her down and introduces her as his wife, so the woman feels it will be bad for them to stress a married man. They accept their fate, but Reese asks Fleo to train them, so Fleo offers to train them. After that request, they also ask him for another thing. They tell him that they don't have anywhere to sleep in the forest, and they hope to sleep in his house. Reese happily accepts, telling them there are several rooms in the house and they can take their rooms, and she will sleep in the same room with Fleo. The women accept the offer, but Fleo doesn't want that. Reese insists that is how married couples should live, and that she will stay in the same bed with him. They conclude that night. However, one of the servants of the Dark King finds out about Fleo's influence in the forest. She goes to inform the Dark King, telling him it isn't even the hero that had done it. The Dark King asks her to make sure they find Fleo and bring Fleo to him. The story continues. We see Fleo wakes up in the morning, opening his eyes to find Reese, who has been staring at him with the gaze of love. The best wife who wishes her husband a very good morning, which causes him to get startled as he didn't expect that she would be there waiting eagerly for him to wake up. Reese explains that it's natural for her to be beside him in the morning since they are a married couple now, which makes Fleo think of their wedding night, when she came to him expecting some intimacy, but unlike her, Fleo wasn't prepared to give away his body and his eternal virginity, and that is why he rejected her, making her presume that he hated her beauty. Fleo explained that he didn't have any emotional attachment to her, but that only made it worse for him, knowing that she might still do something without his consent. Fleo decided to sleep in the hallway, but Reese stopped him, telling him that if Balarasa and the other female adventurers found out that he was sleeping alone on his first wedding night, they may suspect that their wedding is fake. Fleo decided to stay and ended up sleeping in the same room with a fine woman like Reese. Now back to the present. Reese asks Fleo, who is still concerned about his marriage life, if he would like her to help him get changed. Fleo claims to be fine doing it on his own, but Reese insists and starts doing plot-relevant things just as Balarasa enters their room. Perfect timing, I would say. Balarasa instantly becomes embarrassed seeing the two in such an unpleasant position and leaves immediately, realizing that she is just causing disturbance to this newly married couple. Later, Balarasa and the adventurer group head out into the forest, where she encounters a giant warboar and prepares to attack it for her knight's swordsmanship training. However, the warboar overwhelms her with its strength easily and forces her to fall back and run for his life. Blossom comes to assist Balarasa, as she too is good as a swordsman, but she too ends up getting trapped by the warboar, so before it can harm her, Fleo instructs the mage Bellano to use defensive spells against it to help out Blossom. Bailarai, who is the archer, follows up with her arrow, but she reveals herself to be just as pathetically weak as the others. Bellano's magic gets completely drained after using it for only 5 seconds. Anyway, with her defensive spell gone, the boar attacks the group once again, which just shows that they all have a long way to go before getting anywhere near becoming professional adventurers. The training session ends and Fleo brings all of them back home and gives all of them a room for free as they need a place to stay. He also got this house at a very cheap price for defeating the Psycho Bears earlier in the story, so sharing a commodity with his friends doesn't matter to him much. The adventurer is thankful Fleo for showing them such generosity when he is already doing them a huge favor by training them for free. Reese comes there stating that their lunch is ready, but it's just some raw meat that she prepared by cutting the mountain boar they hunted earlier. It's so raw that I think a skilled surgeon can patch its wounds up and revive them back to their original form. Fleo is certainly not a fan of raw steak, so he tells Reese that she should try cooking the meat first before serving it to them. But clearly Reese doesn't have any experience cooking food, since she is used to eating everything raw, so Fleo decides to do it on his own and cooks a grand meal for all of them, causing Reese to get mad at him since she believes that it's a woman's duty to be in the kitchen. After having a very nutritious lunch, Fleo brings back all of the warboars he hunted in the mountains to the Adventurers Guild to exchange them for money. He realizes that he went a little overboard with the hunting, as his loot collection leads him to become the center of attention by people who don't understand how a rookie adventurer can be so skilled. While the receptionist assesses their loot, Reese decides to go around the town, claiming to have some personal business to deal with, which Reese has certain suspicions as she is still a demon. As she takes her leave, a beast man named Lilith approaches Fleo, informing him that he has become the talk of the town recently because of his outstanding adventuring abilities. Even the hero has apparently learned about Fleo's powers, which is why he has invited him to work under him. Lilith promises that if Fleo accepts the hero's offer, there is a chance that the king will make him a knight of the kingdom. However, Fleo isn't sure if saving the world using his powers is better than chilling in this world using his cheating skills, even after realizing that he won't be getting any better offer than this one in this lifetime. Fleo refuses it because he doesn't want to take part in subjugating the demons who belong to his wife Reese's race. He steps out of the Adventurers Guild, finding Reese who looks completely worn out, making him assume that she was attacked by magical beasts or something. But Reese explains that she went out in town to learn how to cook from a chef, which ended up becoming the hardest thing she has ever done in her life. But wanting to gain the love of her husband, she gave it her all and went through all sorts of chaos, destroying the entire kitchen accidentally. On the other hand, the hero, who has taken an interest in Fleo, reveals to have already done his main quest in this world, which is to make a harem. He realizes that if he can make Fleo and his wife Reese joins his team, he will be able to defeat the Dark One and get the king's favor once again. So he continues to send repeated invitations to Fleo for the next 3 to 4 weeks, but Fleo's answer remains the same as ever. Reese, who can't take this mental torture anymore, decides to get rid of the knights so that they don't bother them again, but Fleo doesn't want her to take such extreme measures as he wants to have friendly relations with everyone in this world. The female adventurers are still living with Fleo for this past month to train under him. Blossom and the bunny rabbit occasionally help Fleo grow his cabbage farm by working as a part-time farmer there. The entire team spends several months training so they can become better. They get exhausted as a result of their training and they feel tired. Bellano can no longer wield her magic due to tiredness, and as a result Fleo gets a magic ring and gives it to her so she can train with it. He asks her to put the ring in her middle finger to enhance her magic, but after he leaves, she removes the ring from her middle finger and intentionally puts it in her marriage finger. When Reese sees her, she immediately stares at her and warning her not to try that with her man. Also, Balarasa gets attacked by a sea-level beast, although she knows she can defeat the beast without doing too much. She intentionally refuses to fight the beast and starts calling Fleo's name. Reese realizes her pretense and slays the beast. She approaches her, telling her that she knows she could kill the beast and she was only calling Fleo's name because she was craving attention and she wanted it. They return to the house that evening after all their argument. They are welcomed home by a dinner specially made for them by Reese. When they all get a taste of the food, they are amazed at how awesome it tastes. They admit that they have barely eaten a meal that nice, and Fleo is shocked that Reese can cook. He comments that he didn't know she had that many skills, and she also admits that she never felt the need to learn because she had always thought she could use her magic to prepare meals. However, when he went on his trip, she decided to take a class so she could provide for her husband's needs, and moving on, she realized it was a good investment. She asks them to dig into the meal and also tells Fleo that she has another meal that she had prepared specially for him. She recalls that when she was in the kitchen, she was told by the chef that there was a meal and that if she prepared it for her husband, it would make him fall in love with her. It is curry stew, and she also tells her that she should add a love portion to the stew as she was advised. She prepares the meal with the portion and serves Fleo. Fleo enjoys the meal and he appreciates her greatly for it. Unfortunately, Eulimena's the right-hand demon of the Dark Lord arrives at the mount to find out the man destroying their territory. She is shocked to see Fenris, one of the greatest demons, eating and dining with humans. She can't believe her eyes and she goes closer to get a better view, just as she has assumed it is Fenris. Before she could even think of what to do, Reese appears behind her, asking her what she is doing in her territory. She is startled seeing Reese and she shifts her back. Reese asks for the reasons behind her visit and invites her into the house. Fleo, who doesn't realize that he is with another great demon, treats Eulimena's as well and serves her tea. When Eulimena's drinks the tea, it is too hot for her. Reese doesn't care about all of that and she is more interested in Eulimena's mission. Eulimena's asks her what she is doing there, and she brags that Fleo is her husband. Eulimena's eventually narrates that she has been hearing several things about the forest, and she was sent by the Dark Lord to confirm what is happening. Upon getting to the forest, she found out all the demons that had been situated there had been destroyed. Fleo chips in that he was the one who used his purification power to destroy the demons there. Eulimena's is shocked that Reese is still with Fleo despite knowing that. She asks Reese if she knows that her elder brother, Fengaril, and his entire crew are part of the demons that were killed because of the purification. When Fleo finds out, he is shocked. He turns to Reese asking her if she knew about that. Reese admits that she knew. She says that she knows not all humans could use that much purification power, and if anyone could kill her brother, it's Fleo. However, it doesn't affect her love for Fleo because she wasn't the one who asked her brother to be a coward and die that way. Also, her brother is the type of person who would hate to be pitted in death, so she won't like to do that. Again, she reaffirms her love for Fleo. Eulimenes tries to use her power to confirm Fleo's skills, but his skills are hidden. As a result, she asks Fleo for a duel, and she plans to use that opportunity to kill both Fleo and Rhys, because Rhys has also betrayed them. Fleo refuses because he thinks he is too weak, but Rhys refuses because she thinks Eulimenes wants her man. At that moment, Bellano and the other knights revealed that they had been eavesdropping on the conversation, and they are shocked that Rhys is Fenris. Fleo eventually agrees to the duel, and Eulimenes gives him the rules of the duel, which is that the first to surrender loses. She jumps up and uses her cat claws to attack, but Fleo disperses her attacks immediately and uses the heavenly bounds to hold her captive on the sky. She is shocked to be defeated in such an embarrassing manner, so she surrenders and leaves. In the next morning, the knights have an intimate conversation with Fleo. Fleo apologizes for deceiving them about Rhys' identity and admits that they must report to the king. He doesn't intend to stop them from that duty and asks them to do what they wish. However, they inform him that although they have their duty, they can't also turn their back on someone who has been helping them for a while. Rhys has been instrumental to their growth for the past month, and they don't see her as a threat, so they aren't reporting her. Before they could finish the conversation, Rhys noticed the dragons of the Dark Lord outside. They all go out and they find out Eulimenes has come to attack them for going against the Demon Lord. While Eulimenes and his brags about the strength of the dragons, Fleo is more excited that he is seeing a dragon as he hadn't seen one in the real world. He calls a strike and kills most of the dragons while the others run away, leaving Eulimenes on the ground. Eulimenes is shocked that one man could destroy the strongest army of the Dark Lord. She calls back the remaining dragons so they can leave with her, but the dragons do not respond. Blossom complains that she wishes to kill one of the dragons so she can get the rank of a dragon slayer, and Fleo asks her to throw her weapon. He accelerates the weapon with his magic and kill the dragon for her so she can get the title. The others beg for the same opportunity, but the dragon has left. The Dark Lord watches the entire scene and wonders what kind of person Fleo is. He plans to attack Fleo next. The story continues. We see Fleo sets up a barrier around his house using his overpowered magical abilities in order to stay protected, just in case some other dumb BS like Eulimenes decides to attack them with a demon army. Although Rhys thinks they don't need to worry about any unknown intruder. Not only Fleo, but Rhys herself is strong enough to take down noisy cats like Eulimenes. Even thinking about that sassy cat makes Rhys mad, so she moves on, telling Fleo that he should have punished Eulimenes rather than sparing her life like the kind-hearted hero he is. Fleo states that he wasn't being kind at all, explaining that earlier when he learned from Eulimenes that he, or more exactly his system, was the one responsible for eliminating not only Rhys's brother but also the entire demon army. It made him feel responsible and filled him with guilt. It also made him realize that the revenge that Eulimenes is seeking is completely justified. Hence, he chose to not harm her anymore and let her walk away, but it's all good, since Rhys herself isn't very bothered about her brother's death. So Fleo moves on and focuses on what's more important, the big jiggly melons, just hanging there blissfully. Back at home, all of the adventurers are looking at Blossom's status, who seems to be too proud of herself as she has achieved many new stats and also a new title called the Dragon Slayer for beating one of the dragons in Eulimenes' army earlier. Although it's all thanks to Fleo's overwhelming support that Blossom was able to beat a dragon using a farming tool, she is still proud of herself. Balarasa, who is somewhat jealous of Blossom's achievements, decides to go back in the forest to hunt magical beasts since she too wants to become just as strong as Blossom. The other girls don't understand why this blonde girl is so obsessed with training and also call her out for being jealous, even though the title that Blossom received was all thanks to Fleo's contribution. Bellano, the mage who also wants to become stronger, takes motivation from Balarasa and decides to work as hard as she does. In the meantime, Balarasa reveals being in tears because she doesn't have a title, let alone the Dragon Slayer one, which apparently is so prestigious that even a commoner in their kingdom would be promoted as a noble if they were able to attain it. Wanting to have that title for herself, Balarasa wonders if she should beg Fleo to once again provoke the Demon King's army so that she too can defeat a dragon with his help. But because she also has a pride that doesn't let her cheat, she starts training in silence, lamenting over the fact that with Blossom's title she could have been able to live in the castle again with it, revealing that her family are ex-nobles. Anyway, while Balarasa is still crying like a baby, a man approaches her, asking her if she is familiar with an old acquaintance of his, claiming that he is a friend of Rhys. Hearing his answer and judging by his lack of equipment in this dangerous forest, Balarasa realizes that this man is dangerous, so she prepares herself for any incoming attack and asks the man what exactly his business is with Reese. The man reveals himself to be from the Dark Army but promises Balarasa that he doesn't have any ill intentions, claiming that he has only come here today because he wants to see a glimpse of Reese. In any case, they come back home and move on with their lives again until the Demon Lord once again comes at Reese and Fleo's house's doorsteps, telling Reese that he has been dying to speak with her. Fleo also greets Gore and shows him the way inside their house. While drinking tea, Gore, with a death stare, sarcastically thanks Fleo for defeating his subordinate Eulimenes and his army of demons. To which Reese asks Gore if he perhaps wishes to avenge Eulimenes' defeat. Gore reveals that he has other plans as he tells Reese that he wants Fleo to join the Dark Army, acknowledging that he is a very formidably strong man. However, Fleo refuses the offer right in Gore's face, even though it's a personal invitation, and explains his reasoning, stating that he doesn't want to fight on anyone's side, not even humans, because he has no clue why the two races are at war in the first place. Gore explains the reason for the war, telling Fleo that the war between humans and demons has been going on for the past 500 years, ever since the first Demon Lord came to this world. Apparently, the first Demon Lord was also from another world guide and wanted to conquer the world, and that led to the fight between the endless wars between both races. Gore also claims to have no desire to rule the world, unlike the first Demon Lord, and that is why he wants the war to stop. But at the same time, he has a huge sense of responsibility for the demons of his kingdoms who are on the verge of being oppressed by humans, and that is also why he wants to protect them at the price of continuing the endless war. Understanding Gore's point of view and recognizing his overpoweringness, Fleo still decides not to join the demons as he still considers himself to be a pacifist, so Gore stops insisting for now and takes his leave, telling them that he will come another day to Fleo with the same offer in the hope that the answer won't be the same. Balarasa, on the other hand, who has completely lost the state of her mind being in the presence of the overpowered Demon Lord, loses consciousness for a whole day. But on the very next day, she once again finds Gore in their house's kitchen having breakfast with Reese and Fleo very casually, leading her to lose consciousness again. Gore realizes that he is intimidating the poor girl too much, so he approaches her with the goal of making her his friend. He keeps approaching her every day, but she continues to run away for her life every time because her only wish is to be in Fleo's harem. The king finds out about the close friendship and interaction between the Dark Lords, Lord Gore and Fleo, and he gets very jealous. He assumes that Fleo has decided to take revenge against the way they had treated him when he first arrived, and he has decided to ignore their invitation and follow Lord Gore instead. He decides that if Fleo doesn't want to work with them, it means Fleo is working against them, and he plans to make Fleo regret that. In anger, he assembles all his armies and tells them to visit Fleo's house and fight against him. The princess, on the other hand, doesn't think things should be done like that. She tries to counsel her father as to the best way they can deal with issues like that, and reminds him that if his assumptions are wrong and Fleo hasn't joined hands with Lord Gore and they attack what Fleo has planned, he may eventually get pissed at them and join Lord Gore in anger. The king asks her what she thinks should be done in that situation, and she suggests that they should peacefully match Fleo's house and convince him to join them. Her father screams at her. He's tired of the weak ways she responds to issues and reminds her that weak controversies and ideas can't govern the country. If you want to make a stand, you have to make it violently and with so much grace. He warns her about her weak ways. Before she can talk, the hero arrives and says he is ready to fight. He asks the king to give him the troop so he can control Fleo and ensure that Fleo joins his troop. Without considering what his daughter has told him, the king falls for the hero's superiority complex and sends his armies out to find Fleo. On the other hand, Lord Gore prepares to hoist Fleo again. As he is about to leave his quarters, he meets Eulimenes, who is so angry about Lord Gore's unfounded kindness and love towards Fleo. She advises him that his people will take his kindness for weakness, as he is no longer talking about his intending war against the kingdom, and he is now more interested in becoming friends with Fleo. Lord Gore doesn't take any of his acts as an act of weakness. He reminds Eulimenes that Fleo is a very understanding person and he is someone who is relatable. He claims he needs to get Fleo on his side in the battle because if the king gets Fleo, then the ball will be difficult. He also admits that Fleo is a much better leader than the king or the hero because he feels the need to settle issues amicably instead of fight. He advises Eulimenes to step down the armies because he isn't set to fight at the moment, and she is sure there will be a better way to solve the issue than to fight. He leaves his home and proceeds to visit Fleo. On the other hand, Fleo keeps working on his dragon skin at home and Reese comes to meet him. She asks him what he is doing and he explains to her that he wants to ensure he does the skin well so he can sell better. He intends to make it a creative business for them so he can take care of his family in such ways. He also tells her the expenses they will have to cover. She wonders why he is doing all that stress when if he joins the king army, he will be paid much more than that and he will also get honor. She wonders if the reason he doesn't want to fight against Lord Gore is because she is a demon and he thinks he will be fighting against her family. She praises his kindness, saying she didn't know anyone could be as kind as that. However, he tells her that that isn't his reason. She still insists he is very kind, but he says he isn't that kind. The reason he avoids any fight is that realizing how strong he is, he feels there is no reason to join any of the conflicting parties in the war and he should be on his own. She feels that decision is also because he is kind and she appreciates him for that. Suddenly they hear that there are intruders in their house and they wonder why the barrier they had kept didn't stop Lord Gore from visiting again. Little do they know that their visitors this time around are the hero and his armies. Immediately Reese sees them and she asks if she should destroy them with her power, but Fleo stops her and wants to hear what the hero has to say. The heroes tell him he is giving him a choice. The first is to join them at that moment and they will fight Lord Gore together, while the second is that he will die with Lord Gore. Fleo mentions that he doesn't want to choose either of those options and he apologizes since so many of them have gathered here. He states that he has no intention of joining either side, and the hero wonders if he wants to die as a traitor. Fleo states that this is not what he meant, and the female knights state that the hero should learn to listen to others. They mention that Fleo is not a traitor and the hero states that he can arrest them all for treason. He mentions that he can let them go if they help him convince Fleo and Fleo states that he only has one choice left now. He mentions that he can't afford to get Balarasa and the others in trouble, and he states that they should just go somewhere else. Reese mentions that it's fine with her as long as she is with Fleo and the female knights ask him to take them with him as well. Balarasa mentions that they were taught from an earlier age that demons must be defeated, but after spending time with him and Reese, they have begun to have questions about this. They now wonder if it's alright to fight against demons and she won't be able to face her father if she follows those who turn their force upon innocent people. The other knights agree with her and Fleo states that he will take them with him. He then uses his teleportation magic and he teleports his house and fields along with his friends. One of the soldiers then noticed his goal, and he states that this is the demon that's been frequenting Fleo. Gore notices that the house is gone and he wonders if this is the doing of these soldiers. This makes him angry and he reveals his true form as the Dark One. He orders his minions to attack the kingdom of Clyrode and show them what the demons are made up of, and the hero runs at the first sight of trouble. Afterwards, we see that Fleo and the others have teleported near a town called Hofto, which is west of the capital, and Fleo mentions that he came to this town recently to sell some dragon materials. The knights think that this place should be safe from both the hero and the Dark One, and Balarasa is glad to hear this. Fleo apologizes for making them all go through this and Reese tells him that it's not his fault. She states that she can go anywhere as long as she can be with him as she is his wife, and they all head inside to have lunch. The story continues. We see Lord Gore wages his attacks against the kingdom with great force. As time goes on, he defeats almost all of the strongholds of the kingdom, and he heads towards the northern stronghold where the king lives. As expected, reports of what had happened reach the king, who is so shocked he wonders what could have gone wrong, but there is really no time for him to think about all of that. He eventually asks about the hero and he is disappointed to find out that, as usual, his hero has locked himself up in the southern stronghold because he doesn't know what to do. He asks them to get the hero to fight on their behalf, but it has to be a hero who can save himself and will save other people. Realizing that there is nothing he can do, he plans to send the knights ahead to defend the city. Still, they inform him that the situation is more than the knights, and in the next few minutes the Dark Ones will reach the northern stronghold, which means the entire city will crumble. The only solution available to them is to get the mage and start a purification to secure the city from the Dark Ones. The king wages his situation and he eventually picks his last way out, which is to start the purifications. Meanwhile, Greenel meets Lord Gore, who asks for feedback on the attack. She informs him that they are breaking the strongholds and in minutes they will succeed. He asks them to retreat, but she is disappointed because she thinks they will win. He informs her that the kingdom will resort to purification and he doesn't want any of his demons to get caught. Just as he had expected, purification starts and the city gets cleansed of all demons. On the other hand, Fleo arrives home after a stressful day and he meets Reese waiting by the door. While he is excited to be welcomed by someone, he wonders if she has been there for a while. She asks him if he wants to take his bath or eat dinner or if he wants to eat her first. He awkwardly picks the dinner and she prepares his dinner. While they eat, she asks about his journey to the city and if he has gotten a good place for business. He informs them that he wants to get a place to sell and they appreciate all he does to ensure the family succeeds. Blossom informs him that she wants to start selling the vegetables in their garden so she can also make income for the family. And Bylorite also says she wants to start horse breeding so she can also add her quota to the family. Blossom reveals that Bylorite is an horse breeder, so Fleo gives her a place to use. The others get jealous, but Fleo informs them that they do not have to be worried and they have all done enough to help him out. The next day, the guard gives the princess a feedback about the purification. He tells her that because of the purification, it will take the demons about 3 months before they can attack again, and this can give them enough time to prepare for such an attack. She appreciates all they have done to take care of the situation. Still, she reveals that as a result of the purification that they had used, the mages are tired and they have collapsed, including the king, her father. And it will take them a while before they will recover, so it isn't like it was a good thing. Irrespective of that, since her father is now incapacitated according to their law, she is the one in charge of the country and her first command is that the hero should be dethroned. The guard is shocked to hear this. She reminds him that the hero does nothing to help them when they are in need. The guard asks her what she intends to do after dethroning the hero, and how she intends to fight the Dark Ones. He suggests if they could summon another hero, but she reminds him that they don't have enough mages to do the summoning, so she doesn't know what to do. She intends to consult the oracle and find a solution, but she is fine with the hero being away. Following her command, the guards visit the hero and tell him that he has been dethroned. At first he assumes it was all jokes and tries to brag that they will need his help soon. He reminds them that he was crowned by the king and the princess cannot dethrone him, but they throw his bag at him, telling him to leave their city and do whatever he wants to do in the new world. He tries to beg at this point and promises to fight for them the next time the Dark Ones attack, but it is too late. That night, Fleo calls Reese and appreciates her for being with him. She tells him she will always be there for him, but before he finishes his talk, she sleeps off. After noticing that she is asleep, he comments about how he had thought he would be lonely in that world and he didn't know he could be that blessed. The next day, Balarasa and the girls tell the couple to go out on a date. Reese is so glad to hear this, and Fleo reluctantly follows her too. They enjoy the city, walk around as couples. They also visit a restaurant and eat good food. After eating, they walk around the city and Fleo asks Reese what she wants. She stops at a jewelry store and the seller tells them the jewelries will look good on her. He takes one of the breeches and gives it to her as a gift, which makes her very excited. Upon getting home, she stares at it repeatedly at the other girls, despite being happy that she had a fun day and also jealous of her fortune. She gets so tired that night that she jumps on Fleo's bed and sleeps while holding onto him. He admits that he can't sleep that way, but he leaves her since she is tired. The next morning, the hero who has been banished from his hero status knocks out the knight, who is guarding the royal castle's treasure room, and enters there with his busted little girlfriend who doesn't even have a name in this anime because she doesn't get enough screen time. Anyway, while searching for valuable treasure to steal, the hero curses the first princess for kicking him like that by taking advantage of the king's absence. His girlfriend accidentally refers to him as the hero, which greatly offends him as that status has been officially stripped away from him. She tells him not to be let down like that and encourages him to climb up the ranks once again to re-earn his hero status. Thanks to her motivation, the hero gets his spirits up once again and reveals that he intends to defeat the Dark One so that he can reattain his hero status and live happily once again. So, he continues looking for any valuable treasures that might allow him to defeat the Dark One, telling himself repeatedly that he is special because unlike anyone else, he was chosen by the gods to be the hero. He gets jealous of Fleo for having magical powers that he cannot even use, which makes him wonder if he will ever be able to become even nearly as powerful as Fleo is currently. Suddenly, a mysterious voice seeks out the hero at that moment, asking him if he desires power. As the hero replies in the affirmative, the voice tells him that if he releases her from her restraints, she will bless him with all the powers he can imagine. Although this is clearly a very cliché bait given by any evil villain, the dumb hero, of course, falls for it, being oblivious to how deceiving the people of this world can be, and follows the instructions of the voice heading to a secret room that leads to a sword. The voice promises that she will fulfill any of his wildest desires if he draws out the sword, so the hero happily takes it out, releasing an immeasurable amount of air that turns into an evil djinn named Haya, who supposedly was locked inside that sword. Now that Haya is released, she reveals her true self, telling both the obviously dumb hero and his dumb side chick that she is the primordial demon who commands light and darkness. But being a djinn, she of course has to fulfill her Aladdin's 3 wishes, so she asks the hero what the 3 things are that he desires the most. As both Haya and the hero give off a menacing smile, the hero makes his first wish, which remains undisclosed for now. On the other side, the first princess summons the oracle named Ashura, telling her about the kingdom's current troubles. At the very moment the princess begs for the oracle's help in finding a way to save the kingdom. Suddenly, every single one of them present there gets bound by a mysterious collar, making the princess realize instantly that someone might have entered their royal castle's underground treasury. The oracle reveals that what they are wearing is called the collar of sacrifice, which the Jinn Haya uses to behead a certain number of victims in exchange for granting wishes. The princess, who seems to be aware of the Jinn, reveals that a long time ago, one of the previous kings wished for the death of the Dark One, and in exchange, he sacrificed half of the lives on this continent. Realizing how wicked and evil the Jinn is, the mages of the continent sealed her, sacrificing their own lives in order to do so. But now that someone has released that seal that can no longer be undone, since all of the mages in their kingdom are out cold for the next 2 months, the princess wonders how she will get past this catastrophe. She seeks the oracle's help, who uses her powers and suggests that the princess find the true hero, claiming that he will be able to help her. The kingdom's advisors instantly realize that it must be Fleo, who is known to be immensely overpowered in both strength and magic, but upon learning that he has been deliberately avoiding working under the king and the hero, the princess decides to go find him and convince him to come help them. While she is on the way to find Fleo, we see Fleo is busy selling a shield to a local armor shop owner and showing off his merchant skills. He manages to also convince the shop owner to buy many more of his monster loot items and the goods that he has been procuring here in this small town. Balarasa and Reese, who have been watching Fleo converse with the shop owner, find it surprising to see how skilled and talented Fleo is in every field, including trading. Reese, who knows about Fleo's past, tells Balarasa that Fleo was once a merchant, which explains why he is so good at trading. Balarasa only gets jealous of Reese's gloating and wonders what her own life would have been like if Fleo were her husband instead of Reese's. Reese, who doesn't even want Balarasa to imagine having Fleo as her husband, makes it clear to her that only she can have. She also mentions that the Dark One has already taken an interest in Balarasa, so she thinks Balarasa should put her focus on improving their relationship with him instead of being a married man. Balarasa, on the other hand, who is oblivious to that, gets dismayed as she cannot believe the Dark One, the most evil demon lord, has taken an interest in her and wonders if she will be forced by him to do things that she cannot even imagine. Fleo makes his return, having sold the Dragon Scales shield, and thanks Balarasa, especially for telling him about the armor shop earlier. Now that the job is done, they begin to walk back home when Reese becomes upset, realizing that if Fleo gets busy working as a merchant again, he won't be spending as much time with her as he used to. Fleo comforts her, saying that he will make sure to occasionally they're out hunting with her, and also promising her that they will hang out together whenever he gets the chance. At that moment, Jin Haya approaches Fleo, informing him that she has come here to take his life on the hero's first wish. As she passed Fleo with her first strike, Reese comes up front to protect him and takes the hit, leaving her injured badly as a result. Fleo, who is completely taken aback by this sudden turn of events, desperately tries to heal Reese, but as nothing works, he asks the system for an explanation, which tells him that Reese's injuries are too severe to be healed. Thankfully, the system comes in handy and informs Fleo that in his stead it has mastered primordial light and dark magic for him. So he gets up, tells the evil Jean that he won't forgive her, and gets ready to take revenge. The story continues. We see Haya's attack and Fleo couldn't react fast enough to it, and the next thing he knew, he was watching Reese's blood being spilled and the gift he gave her breaking on the floor. He remembers how Reese pledged her life and loyalty to him. She was the first one in this world who believed and stayed with him. She was even so happy when they pretended to be husband and wife. Even if he was the reason all her siblings died, Reese still chose to be with him. Fleo hugs Reese's wounded body and he tells Haya that he will never forgive him. Meanwhile, status screen appears, telling him that he has mastered primordial light and dark spells. Surprisingly, Fleo's new skill activates and a magic circle appears over him, announcing that time will be reversed. Slowly but surely Risa's body wound vanishes into nowhere. Meanwhile, Haya was surprised and confused as to how a human can use a time reversal spell. She was about to ask Fleo who he really is, but Fleo just punched her in the face. She stumbles back with blood flowing from her face, but Fleo quickly follows up by stomping her into the ground. Fleo's face was full of calm hatred and Haya casts a spell, spewing out darkness from her hands. Unfortunately, Fleo dispels her spell before she can even finish casting and grabs her in the head. Who is this human manhandling her like this? She uses another skill to peek at Fleo's status windows, but what she saw just confused her more. All of his stats are infinite. Fleo slams her into a wall, delivers a heavy punch in her stomach, and then uppercuts her to the air. Meanwhile, Reese finally wakes up without a scratch on her. She has no idea what happened. Balarasa quickly asks her how she's doing and also explains how Fleo's magic had healed her. However, he is now currently busy. They watch as Fleo uses Haya's body as a punching bag, pummeling her with strikes. Haya's blood splatters all around her, but Fleo doesn't even stop. Reese is very touched as to how Fleo is mercilessly fighting for her. However, she suddenly remembers how Fleo once told her how he doesn't like fighting and violence very much. As Haya's beating continues, her sight blurs as Fleo lifts her by her throat. She tries to ask Fleo for forgiveness, but unfortunately Fleo rejects her request and casually replies that she had hurt Reese. Fleo's fingers tighten against her throat and she slowly suffocates. Thankfully, Reese intervenes and hugs Fleo, and she begs him to stop. This finally gets through Fleo's mind and his hand slackens, dropping Haya to the ground. Fleo was shocked by Reese's actions, but Reese tells him that she is indeed happy that he is angry and fighting for her sake. Even so, Fleo's kindness was the reason they were together in the first place. He could have killed her when they were enemies, but Fleo just forgave her. Thus, she wouldn't forgive herself if he would lose that kindness because of her. Fleo kneels in front of her and wipes away her tears. He couldn't believe that she was actually alive. Reese smiles and promises that she is okay. The two cry and hug while Balarasa approaches them in the midst of the now deserted town. Meanwhile, in a nearby forest, a small contingent of knights and mages suddenly appears. They have teleported from the capital with the princess. The princess apologizes to the mages for forcing them to cast teleport. Even though their magic is still recovering, the mages assuages her worries and apologizes themselves for not doing more. If they had more mana, they would have been able to take her to the nearest town. The princess turns to her nearby guard knights and gives them their orders. They will guard the mages while they rest. Currently, their group's mission is to search for the true hero by asking around. To their surprise, the collar of sacrifice around their necks suddenly breaks apart. All of them were surprised, and the princess wondered if the Jinn who put the collars on them might have failed to grant the wish in exchange. Back in the capital, guard knights pound on the door in one of their dungeons. They demand that the blonde hero surrenders himself before the princess. The blonde hero's follower, Tsuya, panics and wonders if they're going to be executed. Meanwhile, the blonde hero was annoyed that the Jinn's promise to grant his wish of killing Fleo failed. To their surprise, another voice abruptly emanates from the room where the Jinn came from. The voice giggles about the fact that the Jinn failed. Dark smoke leaks out from the room and racks around Tsuya, causing her to faint. After a few seconds she gets up again, but with a whole new personality. Someone else had taken over her body. The new Tsuya examines her body and then casts a spell to change her clothes. The stupid blonde knight is wondering what is happening to his companion, and he asks her if she can use magic now. However, Tsuya just thanks for releasing the Jinn seal and casts the spell on him. She introduces herself as the Grand Magus of Midnight Damalinas, and she promises to give him what he wants. The blonde hero screams in pain as the spell takes effect, and the room shakes from its power. Outside the room, the guard knights grip their spear as the castle shakes all around them. All of a sudden the wall explodes as the blonde hero emerges from it, now transformed into a huge monster. Damalinas laughs heavily and compliments the hero for his new looks. She then rides on his shoulders as he climbs up the castle. Damalinas plans to punish the royal family, who sealed her away. When they reach the ground floor, Damalinas notices a teleportation circle vanishing in front of them. It seems that her target had escaped. Nevertheless, she still hasn't given up. Back to Fleo's location, the citizens slowly return to their damaged town. Haya also wakes up to find Fleo looking down on her. She quickly gets up and begs for mercy. She asks them why he healed her, but Fleo just points out that Reese is fine now. Balarasa asks Fleo what they should do with Haya, since they can't just leave her to the guard. Fleo wonders if he conceals her again in the capital. Haya was surprised that he knew about that, but Fleo explains that he looked in her memories to know why she attacked them. He saw how the blonde hero had freed her in exchange for the wish. If he just returns her to the castle, something similar might happen again. Thankfully, Reese has a solution. She jumps into Haya and pronounces that she will now be Fleo's servant. Fleo tries to interfere, but Reese stops him. After all, the Jinn would be a good asset to their. Fleo asks her if she's truly okay with that, but Reese is actually just frustrated that it's her own weakness that caused her to be defeated. Reese finds it rather frustrating that she lost and blames everything on her own weakness, which shocks both Fleo and Balarasa, as they cannot believe how easily forgiving this girl is. Since she has forgiven Haya already, Fleo himself no longer holds a grudge against Haya and considers making Haya his ally, or more precisely, his new servant. He holds out his hand to her, telling her to promise him that she will never take anyone's life again. At first Haya is shocked by Fleo's kindness. Just as Reese was once and just like her, she too falls for his kindness. Up until now, Haya has always thought that humans were a bunch of greedy creatures who only wanted to meet their desires at any cost, but seeing Fleo, her perspective changes, and she again starts to believe that humanity still exists. Haya gets up on her feet and refers to Fleo as the Transcendental because of his infinite powers. She expresses her wishes to see what he will accomplish in this world with all the worldly powers he has them, and then pledges her soul and her body to be under Fleo's care. Fleo becomes flattered by Haya's words and makes up with her, apologizing for getting carried away earlier when he kept smacking her around like a sandbag. Haya doesn't want Fleo to apologize, as she knows she completely deserves each and every punch. Moreover, those punches also excited her feminine side, since she has never been backed up into a corner by a strong man before. As the excitement of even thinking about Fleo getting mad at her again grows, Haya makes happy noises in her mind and starts smiling in a creepy way. Reese realizes that this 1,000-year-old Jean is having some perverted thoughts about her husband, so she makes it clear to her that Fleo is only for her to have. With everything settled, Fleo takes a look around the town and notices how everything in their surroundings is in shambles because of his and Haya's battle. He takes responsibility and decides to use the time reversal spell on this area to fix everything back to its original state, just like he used it on Reese when she got injured. However, Haya interrupts him from using that spell, telling him that if he does so, it will complicate things, as the time reversal spell only moves time within a specified area, and that means that a discrepancy will be created between the areas, which can lead to unwanted accidents, so she suggests that Fleo only use the time reversal spell on a single person. As in that case, there won't be any sort of side effects. She also reveals that the time reversal spell was never meant to be used by any human but by gods, and that is exactly why it has to be used with precautions. Fleo doesn't want to know why he has such godly abilities and asks Haya if she has any idea about it. Haya, who has already seen Fleo's stats, reveals to him that he has infinite stats and skills, so she refers to him as the Exalted One, putting him in the highest regard because of his wisdom and authority. Fleo, who didn't know that the horizontal 8 sign was the infinite symbol, realizes that he has indeed somehow become a transcendent being. He also learns from Haya that he can use total acquisition magic, which means that whenever he is hit with a spell he is able to learn that spell in an instant, which explains why he was able to learn all of Haya's magical abilities during their fight. He finally understands why using powerful spells can bring unnecessary harm to people, so he decides not to use the time reversal spell on the town and instead uses his normal restoration spell to fix the place. They go back to their house, where Haya introduces herself to the other girls as the Jean, who commands primordial light and darkness. She also reveals to them that she will be living with them from now on because her new master, Fleo, has turned her into his servant. The girls, who were already baffled that Fleo had befriended the Dark One, cannot believe that he is now making mythical beings like Jean into his slaves. Bailari doesn't want to share a roof with Jean, so she turns to Balarasa, begging her to convince Fleo to take Haya somewhere else. Balarasa assures her that they will be okay to live together with the Jean and even promises her that in case things go wrong, they do have the overpowered cheat skills user by their side, who can bring any situation in his favor. Later at night, Balarasa approaches Fleo, noticing that he is just staring mindlessly at his hand, which makes her assume that he wants to beat his hidden monster. But I guess that isn't the case. As Fleo explains that he is just thinking about the great power and the great responsibility he now has that he doesn't know how to use, Valorosa comforts him, saying that he always makes the best judgments and believes that he will only use his powers to protect the people he cares for. Fleo then returns to his room, finding Reese to be upset. Before he can ask her what's wrong, she grabs his hand and gets on top of him. Reese, who has come to the realization that Fleo will be able to return to his world if he manages to learn the summoning spell using his cheat powers, makes it clear to him that this is his current home, but in case he still intends to go back, she requests that he take her along with him, as she doesn't want to leave by her side ever. Fleo didn't have any attachments to his previous world to begin with, so he promised Reese that he wouldn't be leaving her side. He gives her a hug and expresses his desire to make her his real wife, as he has now realized how much he cherishes her. As both of them realize that they share the same feelings, they kiss each other. Fleo gets ready to share this protein juice with Reese, but out of nowhere, Haya enters the room at that moment, claiming that she wants to see her master's hidden monster and ruining the moment for all of us. Reese actually decides to erase Haya from existence, but Fleo stops her just in time, telling her that they can always do the thing later. That brings the episode to an end. Thanks for watching. Want next part? Subscribe the channel and turn on notification bell.